We're going to start on day 3 where the Niners dominate. They've had so many good picks on day 3, maybe more success than any other team in the league. I don't know. Which day 3 pick this year do you think will be the best?
I really liked Robert Beal Jr. When he got drafted, you start reading a little bit more about him. It's like, well, first of all, once I hear he's from Georgia, I guess in a way it's kind of stereotyping. It's like, wow, he's from Georgia, okay. And then you read more about his measurables, you read what he's done, and it's like, okay, he led his team in sacks in 2021, and then just kept still sustaining a high level of play the next year. And it's kind of hard really to stand out at Georgia. It's really was what the clear consensus was Jalen Carter, right? But then Robert Beal was, not terribly far behind. So, I mean, I kind of like that prospect of putting him with Chris Kasarik and a bunch of other studs that the 49ers already have a defensive line. And that's someone that he could become a role player this year and maybe even rise above the ranks for future. So I think of all the players that they picked in day 3, he's someone who I think he's the most fail-safe. It's probably going to turn out to be their best. And it's going to be like, it was so obvious of everything that was on the table. And so great selection.
Robert Beal. That's an interesting one. I wouldn't be surprised if he washes out. Like, he's got a lot to prove. He's a project, although he could be very good. Yeah. My guy that I'm going with is the first pick on day 3, Darrell Luter Jr., the other 5th round pick 155, the cornerback. I feel like he's got kind of all the measurables. He's got some production. He's got a really good DB coach, Wilkes. I feel like he's going to end up being like a quality starter for them. Like, Lenore better watch out, or he could end up being Travarius Ward's replacement. I think this guy's going to be good. Luter.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I was clear about this draft. Like, all the picks that they was taking was lined up to where some other big starters were contracts were expiring, like in 2024, 25, or 26. So that's like one thing that I think they made sure to align is like, this is someone that we don't need them to be key right away, but it's someone we could keep under the table. Hopefully they grow, and it's like, okay, we got this guy who we kind of like where he's going, and then maybe we find a future replacement for the cheap versus these guys who are costing us all this money and are draining the salary cap space. So I kind of like that idea. I think with Beal, like, yeah, you're right, he's a project still. Like I said, that's why he was far off from being anywhere near a stud like a Jalen Carter or anything like that. But I just like the idea of putting him with Chris Kasarik. It's like, if there's one place you're gonna put someone, and it's like it's the ultimate place you can put them. Always. It's why they always can bring the free agents who are reclamation projects, put them in with this guy, and they just always manage to find a way to tap into their potential and reach their ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that the 3 defensive players the Niners took on day 3, Luter Jr., Robert Beal, and D. Winters, will all end up being impact players, or if not starters. Like, I don't know if Beal will ever be a starter, but he could definitely be a rotational pass rusher. And really, the only person in his way is Drake Jackson, who's not as athletic as him. Maybe he's more flexible and a better pass rusher, but he kind of looks to me like a tweener. People are saying he rebuilt his body. See what he looks like at OTAs, because you saw him at training camp. I mean, he looked like not an NFL player, like a college player to me.
Yeah, it just looked like just speed was his game, and again, that's why I guess it makes sense when they Kyle explained it as exit pressers. Like, yes, the dude his strength just waned as the season went on, and it's like, yeah, speed's great, but even that waned because again, everything just eats at your body because of the longer season. They're not used to it. They're only used to those 11, 12 game seasons. That's if they were healthy, and that's assuming they went to a bowl game and played in that. So everything is cumulative on these guys' body of work. So I think also the thing what we could say about Beal, and like you said, even with all the day 3 picks, those first 3 defensive picks, is the way that Kyle and Lynch like really went at depth at describing these guys and why they liked them, why they drafted them, explaining all this. That's why I've been having like fun writing these articles. Like, why did they draft these guys? Again, they really went in on talking about them, and they really liked them. And it's like, okay, so this is someone to really keep an eye on. Let's see what they do. I mean, not necessarily, be starter level worthy. Maybe eventually they'll shine in the season, but there's a reason why all these guys why they're really, again, like going in depth. The same thing with like Ronnie Bell. He was a 7th round pick. I've never heard Kyle Shanahan go ad nauseum and go at length, like a full essay on a guy who was drafted in the 7th rounder. I was like, maybe it's because he's a wide receiver and Kyle has those soft spots for those guys, but still, it's like the same thing. It's
Knew everything about him. Knew everything about him, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, I didn't think you did any scouting. I thought you hated scouting. Every time. This is the first time I think he said at a post-draft press conference, and he says, "Oh, what do you like about the draft being over? Whatever this draft is. Oh, I don't have to watch tape anymore." Or something. He said that like last 2 years, and this is the first year. He's like, okay, you're a little more relaxed.
Yeah. Look, I forgot about Jalen Graham. They took 4 defensive players on day 3. That's another linebacker. And the way I think about the Niners is anytime they draft a linebacker, I just assume he's going to end up being good because I think they're the best team in the league at drafting and developing linebackers.
Mhm.
And even though they've lost D'Amico and Saleh, they still have Johnny Holland, who I feel like is like the Yoda of that position. Like I feel like he taught them. I don't even know. So yeah, he's so good. So those two are going to probably end up being either key backups or one will be a starter or both eventually. So I like all the defensive picks on day 3. My questions are the 2 offensive picks, the tight end and the wide receiver. What do you think of which one do you think has a better chance to be like a contributor on this team at some point? Who's going to be better, Ronnie Bell or Braden Willis?
Probably Ronnie Bell, because first of all, he's probably going to start on special teams, right? I think he's going to find a key role there, and probably Willis will too. But I take Bell because, well, I'll get first with Willis. I don't see him as a great blocker, right? I mean, everything that's that like I've been reading on, like I'm not going to pretend I watched him, but everything I've been reading on sounds like, okay, this guy's very highly skewed towards being a wide receiver. What about blocking? Is he a great blocker? Is he a good blocker at least? I'm sure he's been capable, but it's like, okay, it sounds like he's gonna have some work. And then I look at him, I'm like, he's tall, he's kind of lanky. It looks like he needs to like get some nice build to him first and maybe even polish up some technique. And that's not the 49ers MO. They want the tight ends to do both, right? Maybe more so block than actually be a receiver. So that's why I go with Ronnie Bell more. He's gonna find himself a special teams role. And then Juwan Jennings on a 1-year deal. He might not be back next year. So maybe Ronnie Bell rises up the ranks and then finds his role. And then Danny Gray, I know Danny Gray is there, but again, he's just a speedster. He didn't really do much of anything last year. He had to develop so many traits like blocking, finding his role on special teams, and doing more than just running the straight line because Trey Lance wasn't a quarterback anymore. He had to adjust and adapt to Brock Purdy in that new system. So I think Ronnie Bell has the best chance to really flourish among those two.
I'm going to go with Braden Willis because I feel like he didn't test, but I think he's a good athlete. I think he's going to, even if he's not like a good blocker, like he could end up taking the Juwan Jennings role in a year where he's like a slot receiver or he's a tight end, but you really use him on third down and he could be a better receiver than Latu. Like on third down, if you need like another guy on the field and Jennings isn't on the team anymore, I mean, you could go 2 tight ends with Braden Willis in the slot. And I feel like who would you rather have in the slot next year, Ronnie Bell or Braden Willis? It could come down to that. And like Ronnie Bell, he's a little smaller and he runs like a 4.54. Like, I don't know how much he's going to win, I guess. And like with Willis, at least he might present different matchup problems. It'll be interesting. They were picked like 4 picks apart, 6.
Yeah. Does this mean Charlie Warner's gone?
Yes. Because I don't know what Charlie Warner does on the team. Like he's supposed to be a blocking specialist.
I remember when he made that when they made that pick in 2020, right? I remember when they made that pick. It was like, okay, this guy just sounds like a faster offensive lineman. It's like they could. Pretty. I think I remember writing up that. I think I'm the one that wrote up that piece too when they got drafted. And it's like this guy is like good blocker, great is what they want to do. I think he took on that. There was a backup tight end the 49ers had that used to use a lot after George Kittle. Not Ross Dwelly. Who's the other guy? He went to the Giants. I forgot. In 2019 to 2020, he was like I forgot his name. Started with
Caden Smith. Caden Smith.
Was it? No, it wasn't Caden Smith. It was another
Who went
guy.
To the Giants? He was on the Niners tight end?
In free agency.
What are we talking about? Oh, I don't know.
I think he was a Pacific Islander cat. I don't remember who.
Oh, it's Levine Toilolo?
Yes, that guy. Remember he used to come in and be the blocker? I was thinking Charlie Warner took his spot. So it's okay, cool. That was great, but he's got to develop into a receiver somehow. So at least Brady Willis already has that spot. I feel like it's easier to develop as a blocker almost than it is to be as a wide receiver because so much of that, like it's a timing, anticipation, feet work where blocking just gets strong, hold your blocks. We don't need you to do it for too long.
You want to hear some news that's going to dishearten you? So thank you for bringing up Charlie Warner, okay? So they clearly drafted Cameron Latu to replace Charlie Warner. Charlie Warner at the combine a few years ago, 6'4.5", 244, 4.78, 40. Cameron Latu at his pro day, 6'4.5", 242, 4.78, 40. So, and he went to Alabama. The other guy went to Georgia. I hope they didn't draft the next Charlie Warner in round 3. That'd be terrible. But we're not talking about day 2 yet. We're talking about day 3 and all the great things that they always do on day 3. But that Cameron Latu pick is scary.
It's
Damn,
because
they
they
just drafted
collaborate.
Charlie Warner, man. Charlie Warner has the same physical profile. I'm not saying he's the same player, but when you have the same testing numbers as Charlie Warner, that's scary. That's not.
Especially
That's
when you're
not.
supposed to be like this, like a high pick like he was. But Warner was a fourth, fifth round pick.
Sixth.
Okay, fine. Sixth round pick makes sense, but you went all the way high in 3. Jeez.
Charlie Warner was the 190th pick in the draft. Latu was pick 101, and he runs the same 40 as Charlie Warner. I mean, Charlie Warner might beat him out. I don't know, man. Latu, you better